Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, osia dem yopo.
Former managing editor of the Insight newspaper and also a veteran journalist. So, gentlemen, I want us to look at this issue. It's not entirely new. I mean, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. a few times has been here, and he's had cause to caution persons who are peaking ahead of time to stop it and rather focus on the job at hand, which is to deliver on the very mandate that Ghanaians have given you, to deliver on the social contract that you have with the people, and that when you do a good job, perhaps Ghanaians will renew your mandate. It doesn't really matter who you put up there. Of course, it matters, but to a very small extent. And it appears that the executive secretary to the president shares the same opinion with Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. or a similar, similar, depends on how you look at it. But when I read the story, I'm sure that you will understand it. Now, the Herald today has published, in fact, yesterday somebody sent me the link when it was published. And no wonder it's in some of the papers today. So to the second page, it says, Mohammed's executive secretary roars at ambitious appointees. And he has the picture of them. So Callistus doesn't mention anybody's name, but the Herald has the picture of Ato, Castle Ato Force, who was the finance minister, and Mr. Julius Deborah. I haven't heard the two of them say anywhere that they want to become president, but I'm sure that there's something the Herald know that we don't know, so we can grant them that. Larry is a credible journalist, so I don't have any reason to doubt what he's saying. Now it says that the executive secretary to the president, John Dramani Mahama, has issued a stern caution to government appointees and party figures nursing ambitions to lead the NDC, urging them to step aside if their political aspirations threaten to undermine their current responsibilities and the mandate of the administration. In an article published on the Daily Graphic online portal yesterday, May 5, 2026, Dr. Callistus Mahama stressed that public office demands undivided commitment and discipline, warning against the dangers of allowing personal ambition to interfere with governance. I'm going to quote him. Public office is, at its core, a trust. It demands presence, attention, and a full measure of commitment. It does not lend itself easily to divided focus. He cautioned that when personal ambitions begins to compete with the demands of governance, it leads to a quiet erosion of performance, discipline, and ultimately trust, adding that those who cannot subordinate ambition to duty risk doing injustice to both. Dr. Mahama further notes that where such tension becomes irreconcilable, right? Stepping aside should be seen as an honorable cause rather than a sign of weakness. The nation deserves full service. Ambition deserves honest pursuit. The two must not be confused. The Executive Secretary underscored the fragility of the government's reset agenda, warning that it remains in the early stages and requires consistent discipline and collective focus to succeed. According to him, the administration's progress could be undermined if officials begin to prioritize factional interest or future political positioning over national mandate. There is a quiet danger, and I'm going to quote him. There's a quiet danger that sometimes creeps into political life. Attention shifts from the work at hand to the question of what comes next, he observed, cautioning that discussions about succession in 2028 are emerging prematurely. Dr. Mahama points out that when President Mahama assumed office in January 2025, Ghana faced significant economic challenges, and that required urgent and sustained attention. He stresses that barely a year and a half into his administration's tenure, it is premature to shift focus to leadership contest when the core mandate of stabilizing the economy and restoring public confidence is still ongoing. I quote him, President Mahama still has more than 2.5 years to deliver on the commitments made to the Ghanaian people. Those years are not excess time. They are the core of the mandate. Turning to internal party matters, Dr. Mahama notes that the NDC itself has not yet completed its internal electoral process, beginning from the branch level through to the national structure. He describes these processes as essential to the party's legitimate. I want to continue that here. Very interesting article. Okay. Stressing that leadership must emerge through established democratic structures rather than premature maneuvering. Even the foundation has not yet been settled. Their thoughts are already drifting to the summit. Dr. Mahama concluded by urging restraint and focus, noting that there will be an appropriate time for leadership contests and political ambition to be expressed through the party's democratic process. For now, he said the priority must remain on governance and delivery. The question before us is not who leads in 2028. The question is whether by 2028 we would have delivered enough to justify the trust that was placed in this administration in 2025. The clock is not yet ticking towards succession. It is ticking towards delivery, and for now, discipline must prevail over ambition. And then the Herald publishes the article, the full article, just below the report itself. Kwesi, you're on record to have made a similar advice in the past. Does this give a shot in your arm?
Okay. First of all, let me start with the possible motive for carrying the pictures that the Herald carried with the story.
Atu and Julius's picture?
Yes. And Mohammed's picture.
Yes, and Mohammed's picture, yes.
There could be many. It doesn't necessarily mean that these are the culprits or these are the people who are campaigning to, assume the mantle. It doesn't necessarily mean that. If you take somebody like Mr. Julius Debra, he's supposed to be at the center of the disciplinary machine as chief of staff.
Yeah.
He's supposed to make sure that ministers are kept in line and so on. And therefore, it is good reason for using his photograph. If you take Kwesi Atu Forson, his role as finance minister necessarily puts him at the center of coordination. You understand? How to make sure that every agency, every ministry, every department is properly resourced, and how to focus attention on the reset agenda. So it may not also be because of his ambition. It could be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the reason why their pictures are put out there. That's the first point. Now, the second point I want to make is partly speculative.
Okay, but before you talk about why, with the fact that what you're about to say is partly speculative. Now, relative to the issue of who is harboring what ambition, you've been seeing the Musa Dangwa polls, and we've all sat here and have said that Musa has credibility. Now, when you look at the list of persons who he's been polling, the two of them are in there. In fact,
that is true.
Julius Debra recently didn't even feature, but recently he's featured in that poll. So I'm just saying, just to add some.
No, don't stress yourself.
Okay, all right. So there's something.
I'm saying that it could be.
It could be.
But it is not necessarily what it is.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Okay. So that's the point that I made.
Okay.
But I'm saying that the next point I'm going to make is to some extent speculative, but I think it still has to be made. Can you imagine a situation where, without a nod from the president himself, the executive secretary can issue such a statement or alter such an article?
Why not? He can.
The executive secretary.
It's not the first time Kalusi is writing an article.
No. I know it's not the first time. The executive secretary to the president,
yes,
on his own, can write an article in which he calls on appointees, which include the chief of staff, which include ministers and so on, to quit if they are nurturing such an ambition. Think about it.
Because it's possible.
No, it's not.
That possibility would be a very strange possibility.
Why?
Because he works under the chief of staff, actually, literally.
Listen.
So he can't be calling his boss to that kind of stuff.
And it's only a suspicion, I suspect that when you read this article, you must see President Mahama somewhere lurking in the shadows of the article. You understand? And I believe that fully. So those who read this article and think that it's just Callistus on a bench and so on, they will get many things wrong. They should read this article as concerns being expressed through Dr. Callistus Mahama, and they should take it seriously. Because it seems to me that this is the first shot, and that other shots would follow. That's my understanding of what has happened. In any case, Callistus writes very, very well. He's a very effective writer. I recall when there was the issue about the president's use of his brother's jet came out. Callistus wrote an explainer. I'm sure you read it.
Yes.
His choice of language was excellent. His reasoning was... So he writes very well. He's a very effective writer. And if you read this article, it is clear that every word was deliberately chosen and put there. This is a work of art. I mean, clearly, I've read it. You know, I read it only this morning, and it's a work of art, deliberately done. My brother, I agree with Callistus 100%. If it was possible to agree with him more than 100%, I will.
Please, let's stay at 100.
Listen, what is happening within the government machinery, to a very large extent, is even an insult to the people of Ghana. What is happening? We have elected a government 4-year term. Just as we entered the second, even before we entered the second term, people spring from this government machinery who have no mandate from the electorate as well, and are focusing attention on their dreams of becoming president and so on. And Callistus makes the point. You see, let's take anybody in government. Let's say that there are 3 ministers who all want to be president. What do you think will happen in practice, in real practice? Everybody's practice as a minister will be skewed towards giving them advantages. And that can very easily lead to the emergence of factions in government.
Sure.
Today, you talk to people in the NDC and in government, and I'm not lying, you know it. The person either belongs to A faction or B faction or C faction and so on. It makes it impossible to work together as a team. It makes it impossible to focus on the prime responsibility of government. And I think it's a danger to the NDC itself. If this should continue, it would, to a very large extent, minimize the possibility of the NDC doing well in the next elections. The factionalism which is emerging is not in the interest of the NDC. There's no focus. And I'll tell you, I won't give you the details, but I'll tell you. I've spoken to people in the government machinery who think that they are not being adequately funded to achieve a national objective. And their suspicion is that they are not being adequately funded because those in charge of funding don't see them as part of their faction.
Yes.
I'm sure you've heard it.
No, you're absolutely right.
You understand?
Yes.
How do you run government like this? Crazy. How do you run government like this? You can't run government like this and succeed. So everything these reckless appointees do will be seen in the light of the effort to promote themselves so they can become presidents in future. That's a big problem. And really, I want to see this as the first shot from President Mahama himself. I want to see this as the first shot. But this first shot has delayed in coming. It should have come much, much earlier. By now, some people should have been sacked.
Oh.
Yes.
But how do you appoint somebody and sack the person?
If you appoint people who are not focusing on your research agenda,
yes,
and are focusing on their personal, individual ambition, some of which is hollow, there's no reason why some people should be seeing themselves as president. Some of the news. I'm sitting back, I say, this guy too wants to be president? How? You understand? It has no merit. And they are wasting the nation's time, they are wasting the president's opportunity, wasting everything on a reckless and useless ambition. He should have sacked them long ago. What is he waiting for? Sack them. Please, sack them. They are not helping in any way. They are not helping the country. They are not helping the president. They are not even helping themselves. Sack them, please. It's time for a major reshuffle in government. The dead wood should be put aside. Those who cannot focus on the national agenda have no business being in government. Those who are beginning to see themselves as emperors and so on. I mean, tomorrow, look, there are 35, 36 million Ghanaians. Anybody who stands in front of the mirror in his bedroom and comes to the conclusion that he is the best gift of God to Ghana is loony. Needs to have his brain examined. How do leaders emerge? Leaders do not emerge through self-proclamation. Leaders emerge through self-proclamation.
Not at all.
They don't. And what you're having is self-proclamation. People who can't string two sentences together. People who struggle to string two sentences together are seeing themselves as presidents of the Republic. Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. What is this? It's so shameful, it's so embarrassing. And I agree 100% with Callistus. And I would suggest very strongly to the president that he should take this thing seriously if he's not the man who instigated it in the first place. And deal with it. Look, you have a president, you have a vice president. The president, I have insisted, cannot go beyond one term now. The Constitution says so. I would not support the president violating the Constitution or trying to amend the Constitution as other despots have done in Africa. So, by 2028, President Muhammad should give way. In the natural scheme of things, in terms of authority and so on, who is next? It doesn't mean that the person who is next in line today necessarily has to become the successor. It doesn't mean that. But there's a certain hierarchy that we are working with now. Now, if you are third in this hierarchy, or fifth in this hierarchy, or sixth in this hierarchy, and you start declaring your intention to succeed President Muhammad, how do you deal with this structure? Think about it. How do you deal with this structure? So you're a minister, and you have ambitions of if ever the vice president should offer herself, you have ambitions of contesting her and defeating her. How do you work with her? They are human beings, so these are not machines, these are human beings. How do you work with her? So they are creating unnecessary problems for the president, they are creating unnecessary problems for Ghana, they are creating unnecessary problems for themselves. They should be sacked.
You recall, so I see, so this is John Mohammed's second term, Richard. And
there's something that I wanted to say, in reaction to what Richard has said. Look, if the NDC is not able to fulfill the promises it made to the people of Ghana, they can bring the angel Gabriel as their presidential candidate. They won't do well in the elections.
Fact.
If the NDC fulfills the promises that it made to the people, and the people of Ghana come to the conclusion that, look, this party keeps its word. It has changed our destination. It has changed our life and so on. It may not matter much who is elected as the next presidential candidate. Okay? And I think that should be at the core of the thinking of all these people who are jostling and so on. It is not an individual matter. And that's why I asked the first question. How does leadership emerge? Through self-proclamation? So those who actually want to be leaders in the future, their first task is to make sure that the Muhammad administration succeeds. It keeps its promises. 24-hour economy, what is going to happen to it? That's where their focus should be.
Nothing.
Big push. They should make sure that it happens. You understand? And so on. And if they work so hard, and everybody comes to appreciate that it is because of their hard work that the party managed to fulfill its promises to the people and so on, leadership is automatic. It's automatic. That is how people have to see themselves working to become leaders. Not paying praise singers to be writing all kinds of things about them and so on. Who is impressed by those kind of writings?
Probably that's why you and I are not presidents. But it takes a bit more than just putting in the work. It's a democracy where people have to select. So you have to declare an intention, I want to be, so people can see.
But you have to also show that you are capable.
Of course, they are doing that.
And you have an opportunity now, you are in government.
Yes.
What better opportunity do you have to show your capability than being in government at this high level?
Well, but you see, so when they are given opportunity to try and show work, and they see
that by virtue of vice, of their appointment into public positions as ministers and so on, they are the best this country can offer. Is living in cuckoo's land. Listen, the very constitution we operate does not make it possible to gather the best. And you should be talking to President Kufuor about it, you know. Yeah. This constitution has so many caveats. Mm-hmm. To form a government, there has to be regional balance. And all of that, there has to be gender balance. Mm-hmm. There has to be ethnic balance. Yes. There are so many balances we have to achieve that the end product is always not the best. We are not looking at people just on the basis of their merit.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. You understand? So a lot of chaff seeps in.
Yeah.
And you should have a conversation with even Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo or President Mills. You know, he cannot converse with you. You have to join him. But talk to President Kufuor. Yeah. It's one of the difficulties. They have people they want to work with who they think are excellent, who can deliver. But because of all these balances and this notion of government, of friends and family and so on, they are so careful that in the end, what they gather may not necessarily be the best, but it may be the most convenient. So people in government should not start dreaming of themselves as the best. Okay? Now, you come up with this scenario where some people who are still in government say or whisper that, oh, it is not their fault. It is people who are coming to them.
Yes, my hometown chief.
And suggesting to them that. But if that is how they are thinking, Richard, the word I have to use, I can't use it on a platform like this. If you think like that, there's a problem with you. You need examination by psychiatrists or psychologists.
They have the interest.
Can I finish?
They have the interest.
Oh. Tomorrow, you are a morning show host. When you drive out of here, what do people tell you? Me, who am I? Nobody. But because I have this media presence and so on, but it happens to you.
Yes.
Hey, champion Bakupe, the best man in Ghana, and so on. They tell you that. If you're in public office and you believe those things, something must be wrong with your head.
But it gets into their head. That's the reality.
No.
But then that is what is wrong with them. If you allow these things to get into your head, to the extent that you now begin to build a machinery for becoming president because people are praising you, then you are sick.
No.
Master, it happens to all of you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But this is different. And say you are the best that God created for Ghana. Hasn't anybody told you that before?
Well, we hear that all the time.
They've told me that before. And people call you and say, but you, Pa, you are a disappointment. You are the reason why Ghana is suffering. You should have offered yourself for president.
But Kwesi, would that be wrong? If anybody said that, would that be wrong?
I'm not a fool. I stopped being foolish a long time ago.
But that would be...
Look, to be honest with you, I stopped being foolish a long time ago. Somebody meets me in the street and he says, I should have been president. And that will solve Ghana's problem. And I believe that and I act on it.
But Kwesi, you know there's a problem with what you are saying. I must be confined
to the psychiatric hospital.
No, Kwesi. You know, you can say that to make your point. But the point you are trying... So what you are trying to say is that you're...
Maybe there's something
Richard!
No.
If there's anybody like that who wants to be a leader in Ghana, we should do everything possible to stop that person because it's not correct.
No.
You are being modest and I appreciate that.
No, it's not about modesty. It's not about modesty.
But they're also entitled to the opinion. The way they see you may not be how you see yourself.
Let's talk about Bank of Ghana.
They believe that you have what it takes
I'm
to
driving,
become somebody.
I'm driving down Kotobabi. I'm driving in Kotobabi down. Somebody stops my car frantically. So I'm very angry with you. You are the reason why Ghana has all these problems. If you had become president, there would have been no problem. And then I believe that and I act on it.
No, but
why?
But Kwesi, so the basis for believing that is you having
An ambition.
You have ambition,
you have an ambition.
and have that self-confidence.
No, you being sick is the first.
No. If that's the case, then we will not have anybody to contest.
No,
so the
people
point
should be free to be ambitious.
Yes.
So people should be free to be ambitious.
Wrong. There's nothing wrong with ambition.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with ambition. Indeed, ambition is one of the things that drives society.
Absolutely.
And moves us from a lower level to a higher level.
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with ambition. But there's something called unrealistic ambition. An ambition fueled by egocentric stupidity.
Okay. So fine. But in fact, no. That for me, we Ghana, we just have to get popcorn and watch them. The things they are doing.
It's not a movie.
Oh, but they are the one in the arena.
Yeah, okay.
So we are standing in the stands looking at
Who
them.
put them in the arena?
They put themselves there. They lie.
So you can also jump into that arena.
Oh, but that's the NDC. We finished our arena match. But they told us they will do 24-hour economy. It's not happening. They told us they will pay cocoa farmers better. It's not happening. Everything they told us they will do, they are not doing.
They've established the 24-hour authority.
That's not what they said.
What did they say?
They said they will do a 24-hour economy whereupon one job will have 3 people working in 3 shifts. That's what they said. Okay. We are not seeing it. It doesn't entail creating an authority. That authority is only going to be staffed by people who are going to depend on the state. Okay. The point is productivity. That productivity is not going to come from that authority. Okay. That's it.
No,
that's it.
I mean, he's introduced something that.
Oh no, we'll talk about the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah, after this one. After
he's struggling not to comment on, but he's introduced it. This 24-hour economy business, my attitude would have been totally different. You understand? You see, you have the ministries, departments, agencies, and all of them. Some of them can very quickly start a 24-hour program.
Right.
You don't need an authority to do that.
Yes.
And indeed, some of them have already started a 24-hour program. Ghana Publishing, for example, is now running on a 24-hour basis.
Passport office as well.
Passport office is.
DVLA.
And so on. So what you do immediately after the assumption of office is to call your ministers and say, show me
where the opportunities are.
Where we can do it now.
Yes.
Where is it that we can do it now? So coordinate it, put it together, and announce it. We have started 24-hour economy in this sector, in that sector, and so on. This is the number of people who have been engaged, and so on. The implementation of 24-hour economy program should not, again, I'm going to use a word, please forgive me if it's inappropriate, should not be reduced to intellectual masturbation.
Yeah.
It's a practical thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So gentlemen, I want us to read a few messages. Let's bring in our viewers, and then after we can go to Bank of Ghana matter. It's just 17 minutes past 2, so we'll start on that in 3 minutes. So this one here from Abdul Kudus, who is a regular viewer of the show. He says, Salamu alaikum, boss man. Why please don't come and tell me I can be president with this boss man shifting. This is how you
Moro, your head looks like a president. You have to throw in your hat.
Oh,
this head.
But somebody did something to you, and you told the person.
If you have this head, you must be president.
Your head must be examined.
Charlie, different interpretations to answer. I hear you. So Abdul Kudus says, Assalamu alaikum. Why will Mr. Pratt be surprised if Callistus wrote the article without the blessing or knowledge of the president? When the majority leader and the chief whip sought to collapse the OSP through parliament, were we not told that the president wasn't aware? The AG is in court to undo the OSP, and once again, we're told the president is in support of the OSP. The AG told us he discontinued the criminal case in court without the blessing of the president. If we believe these narratives, I beg Uncle Kwesi to save his emotions and not be surprised that Callistus acted on his own. Strange things are happening. Pa. Alhaji Hamza from Pig Farm, he says that, good morning, my brother. Truth be said, I totally associate myself with the statement issued by Mr. Callistus Mahama, and I totally agree 100% with the comments made by Uncle Kwesi Pratt this morning. We should remember that we have a social contract with the good people of this country. This was Alhaji Hamza, Pig Farm. We should not also forget that the NDC can only be re-elected in 2028 elections based on the achievements we make today. But I'm afraid some of the appointees today have become so power drunk that they don't listen to anyone. I would join Kwesi Pratt to call for the president to sack some of them and also make sure he reshuffles some of them. We're not going to win 2028 elections on a silver platter. Moro, it is a fact that some of the appointees are doing more harm than good to the NDC. And the earlier the president takes action, the better for the chances for the NDC in 2028. Mr. Martin Isi, the former Minerals Commission boss, he's watching the show. He says I need Uncle Kwesi to explain intellectual masturbation. And that he says, I love the term and I want to use it in many ways. So please, he showed why. He says he doesn't understand what intellectual masturbation. So you do that, Mr. Martin AC. But anyway, long time, boss. I hope you're doing very well. Alfred Kojo Tradle says that I'm sure. No, good morning, Moran, to your cherished viewers. I'm not sure anyone with the NDC is currently campaigning to become the next flag bearer. I will plead with anyone who has such ambition to instead help President John Dramani Mahama succeed in fulfilling the 2024 campaign promises. I am confident that if we all support President Mahama and he continues on this path, on the path he is on now, every interested person will have the chance to become flag bearer and subsequently the next president of Ghana. That's from Tradles. Manche Bruce the second. Manche Bruce. An ambitious born out of egocentric stupidity. Hey, Uncle Kwesi Pratt just made my day. Manche Bruce the second from Takrady. You see, they have started. Audumoro for President 2020. I beg you, leave me alone. No, make me a rich day.
He set you up.
Set me up.
Next time the issue comes, your face will be on it.
Samuel Brian Boabing, he says, Moro, good morning. What is Dr. Callistus Mahama talking about? Is it because their preferred candidate is losing? We were in this country when certain people desperately wanted President Mills out of the way so that they could take over power. There is fire on the mountain. What has changed? No amount of article can stop people from pursuing their ambition. The NDC today is more divided than ever, with factions ready to do anything just to lead. Samuel Brian Boabing sends that. Carlos from Ododo, he says, I agree with Mr. Kwesi Pratt regarding the NDC's failure to fully deliver on this promise. I believe we're on the right path to fulfilling them, but we need to step up our efforts. In particular, we must address issues of corruption. Those who looted the country should not be shielded. We must also not forget the election-related violence during the 2020 elections. Many families are still crying out for justice, like the case of Rita Otu, a 14-year-old from Bukom who was affected by the violence in Ododo. Her mother is Latte Otu. It is concerning that some of these families have not been engaged since the NDC assumed power, especially the case of this young lady from Bukom. We need to extend support to her family and others affected. It is truly unfortunate to see individuals accused of electoral malpractice speaking publicly without any legal consequences. As Uncle Kwesi rightly said, we must fulfill our promise by ensuring accountability and allowing the law to take its course. Carlos, and I say, God bless you. This one says, Assalamu alaikum, Moro. Please tell the prophet of, doom. He's not prophet of doom. Just call him Richard Anyagba, please. That we, the NDC, know that we know what we are about. His advice is not welcome. His party just checked out of government because of poor performance and arrogance. That's Isa Hamidu from Tema. Kwame Sapon Hasidu, your very good friend, a CDD fellow, research fellow in health. He says, Moro, to become the president in Ghana, you need to run on a vehicle, i.e. the political party. Now, personal popularity helps, but can be deceitful. So those in the NDC who are harboring ambitions had better know that without strong delivery by President Mahama and the NDC, any subsequent bloodbath to become presidential candidate will lead to a weakened party with a poor delivery track record and an election disaster. Fifi Kwete did speak earlier and things cooled, but has picked up again. Dr. Callistus Mahama makes a lot of sense and they better listen. And finally, okay, sure, boss. Oh, okay, let me look at this one. Ali Horeya, who's a Greater Accra coordinator, Zongo Concourse, I think, for NDC. Yes, for NDC. So I totally agree with Uncle Kwesi. I am there for you. That's all. Charlie, people have started. You put this trap. I don't go fall for inside. Musa Bato Sawasi says, I urge Ghanaians to disregard the unnecessary noise from the MPP. The Bank of Ghana deserves commendation. Oh, Musa, why have you started talking about? Oh, this is Charlie. This thing. Anyway, Mansa Musa, you're a very good friend from. He said the other day he interviewed you, must have been a few weeks back. Yeah. Okay. He says, Mo, tell Rich Nahagba, I've told him several times that he is in the wrong party with the wrong crowd. He will be welcomed into the New Nation Anti-Corruption Party. Morning to all of you. Anyway, so, gentlemen, let's look at this. So, Bank of Ghana, he posted his financial statement, and it's been subjected to all kinds of interpretations. The NDC has a different opinion, the MPP have a different opinion in terms of how they're interpreting the data. For them, it's a gargantuan loss, it's untenable, it's unacceptable. Bank of Ghana should not be making such a loss. Even in terms of the figure, the NDC says they agree with what the KPMG has said, which is 15 billion cedis. The MP says, no, they see 44 billion. They don't see 15 billion. And they give us all kinds of reasons why they see 44 billion. But I see two schools of thought. Those who are saying that it doesn't matter how much we have incurred to be able to stabilize the economy. Essentially, what the Bank of Ghana does is supposed to be stabilizing the price of goods and services and stabilizing the economy, essentially. And so once that is happening, and you look at the macro indicators today, the macro indicators are looking good. So really, it ain't no big deal, as the Americans would say. But some
PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal le Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.